Welcome to Brain Glitter, where we find the humor in being human and the joy in being a work in progress. Today, we're talking about the kind of joy that only shows up when you do something that scares the hell out of you.
Right. It's not the kind of joy you get from, finding $20 in your jeans, although that would be awesome.
Amazing.
But this is the kind of joy that you get out of, actually pushing yourself and getting out of your comfort zone. I'm Bethany Hall, and this is Sam Griffin.
And we are so excited to chat with our guest, Ben Towill. He's a restaurateur, an entrepreneur, and a career adventurer. And he has built a life around saying yes to big, uncomfortable things, including a friendship with me. Ben is one of the few people in the world adventurous enough, brave enough, and crazy enough to row across the Atlantic Ocean. Bethany, to put that in perspective, more people have gone to space than have done this row.
I still can't get my tiny little brain around it.
Yeah, you and me both. But before he heads off for his next adventure, we pulled him into our New York studio to talk about what shows up on the other side of fear and exhaustion, and how sometimes you just need to start, even before you feel ready.
I have so many questions. Let's get into this.
This is Brain Glitter! Thank you so much for being here. Old friends, new friends, family, strangers. We're just so happy to be here with you. Bethany, when you and I started talking about the kind of people that we wanted on this show, we kept coming back to the same idea, which is we wanted people who light up a room, right? Just have all the energy. They bring the fun, and they remind us not to take ourselves too seriously. And, well, to be honest, we've kind of hit the jackpot today, because if you are looking for someone who finds joy inside of the toughest of things, Ben Towill is your guy.
Yes.
Yes, Ben. In 2022, Ben rode 3,000 miles across the Atlantic in what's called the world's toughest row. And if you are unfamiliar, it's the annual race where people grab a buddy and row their boat across the not so gentle ocean.
And it's not a sailboat.
No, it's not a sailboat. It is a row boat, like a tiny little woo, woo.
With no engine.
No, no engine, no sail, just paddles, which is wild. Ben and I met in 2011 when I was working at Bon Appetit magazine, and he had just opened the hottest restaurant in New York called Fat Radish. And since then, he's written a cookbook, he biked across America and wrote about it in the New York Times, and he still manages to be one of the most grounded and humble and generous people I know.
This is unbelievable. This man is too much. It's too much. Extra.
Extra. Read all about it. So Ben currently lives in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, and with his more impressive wife, Kate, and their two adorable kids. And we are thrilled to welcome him to our New York studio to talk about how joy shows up in doing hard things, why pooping in a bucket in the middle of the ocean is harder than you think, and why starting before you're ready might be the best decision of your life.
I feel like pooping in a bucket sounds hard no matter where you are.
I think you're right about it. It kind of depends on the size of the bucket. We should ask.
We should ask.
Yeah. So, without further ado, please welcome Ben Towill to Brain Glitter.
Yay!
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hi, guys.
Ben.
How are you?
Now, can we talk about the pooping in a bucket?
Please, my
Can
favorite
you
subject.
just, for those listening, can you just walk us through the...
Really very quick poop in a bucket. Funniest story. We never rowed before. And so to train a row, we went out into Charleston Harbor and we did our first 12-hour row. And so the sun is coming up and we're by the big tankers where they unload the shipping containers in Charleston Harbor. And I'm thinking, Charlie and I don't know each other well enough to be pooping in front of each other in a bucket. So I'm like, hey, this is the first time I need to do it on our boat. And I said, Charlie, like, look away or go in the cabin because I need to poop in the bucket. And like, so I'm sitting there, I'm getting ready, and I squat down on the little orange bucket that's on our 24-foot rowing boat. And as I do it,
Wait, is it a Home Depot bucket?
It is, exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'm picturing it.
So we wear these harnesses that they have something called an EPIRB. And our EPIRB, if it goes off, it calls the Coast Guard in Falmouth, England. And from there, they set off a search and rescue to wherever we are in the world that we are in grave danger and we need to be rescued. So I sit on my bucket. And as I sit on my bucket, I knock my EPIRB. I didn't know I knocked my EPIRB. I'm watching the sun come up. I'm hoping no one's looking from the tanker ships, doing my business. And suddenly the radio goes, and the radio's behind me. Charlie's in the cabin in front of me. And I can't get to the radio. The radio's going, alarm. So Charlie, you got to get to the radio. Charlie gets to the radio, goes past me awkwardly. Why I'm mid-business. This is my first ever bucket moment. Answers the radio, and it is the Coast Guard. And they're like, we've received an SOS from the Falmouth Coast Guard. And I'm like, no, we're practicing a drill. All right, we're just practicing a drill. So he said, don't worry, we're practicing a drill. We can reset it. He goes, well, we need the code on the EPIRB. I'm like, the code's on my belt. So Charlie, this is a moment I wanted to do it alone, my first time. So Charlie has to come up to me, get in my business, climb on my bucket, get the code, tell the Coast Guard. They then tell the Cornish Coast Guard. And that was my first ever bucket moment. From there was nothing ever that we were embarrassed again. So
it does give you comfort to know, though, that while you were in the ocean, you did have your own help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. And that's all.
That's amazing.
That's my bucket story. What's next?
Thank you so much for coming. That's all the time we have today.
Wow. I hope you all learned a lot.
Oh, my God.
Ben, we are so grateful that you're here. And first of all, Sam and I haven't stopped talking about how great your documentary is. In particular, I'm really moved by the friendship between you and your co-rower, Charlie. But I'm moved by the endurance, the energy that it took, the determination. So thank you so much for just putting this story out into the world.
Thank you. Yeah, so just to explain the friendship piece and why that's so important. So, and this is something I think about a lot, is the number one thing that can go wrong in ocean rowing or any long endurance, because we're talking this is 40 days at sea, 24-foot rowing boat, 4 foot wide. You're going to row through storm. You're just going to go through it all. And the number one thing that can go wrong, I mean, we capsized, we were hit by marlin, we rowed through a 5-day storm. But really the number one thing that can go wrong is a breakdown of a relationship because you're so reliant on one another. So Charlie and I, for 2 years, we would do these crazy endurance. We'd go and hike for 36 hours without sleeping. And then we'd finish and he'd be like, tell me, what do you find annoying about me? And you haven't slept. And he would lay it on and I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's all. But we got it all out. And so we really, when we set off, we kind of knew our real weaknesses and there wasn't stuff we hadn't addressed. And we addressed really hard questions like, what happens if something happens to my son while we're at sea? There's nothing I can do. Should Charlie tell me? Do I want to know if something happened to Charlie's family? So we wrote all this stuff. So we really worked at this friendship. And as a result, we stepped off closer than ever. We're best friends now. And I love him to pieces. He's currently trying to climb the highest peak in every state. And I'm doing some of it with him. We just did George the other day. So the friendship part is incredible.
I think so many friendships and relationships would benefit from a 36-hour what's the most annoying thing. So what of the things he said, what surprised you the most that he found annoying?
Well, right. Well, I have probably a lot of annoying. I think we'll talk about joy. I think, Charlie, just to bring it back to that, if you're not enjoying something, right, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. So, because we chose to do this. This isn't a forced march, right? So the best advice we got is enjoy this journey, right? You're probably not going to row the Atlantic again. You spend the next part of your life talking about it. So enjoy it. So we try to turn kind of very average moments into really joyful moments. And I think when we weren't having fun or one of us was down, we would be like, oh, what makes that person tick or what brings that person joy? So It was really about, and when you're tired, you all do things, and this is in a relationship, right? Where you're always pissed off when you're tired. And so navigating how best to deal with someone when they're at a low is what we used to talk about. Like, man, I saw you fall apart at an hour 20. Like, you hadn't charged your headphones, and like, you borrowed mine, and it really annoyed me because I was also tired, so charge your headphones next time. It was that sort of stuff.
Did you do things that, did you also kind of pre-plan things for those moments when you're like, oh, I know I'm going to be down, or here's the song I want to play if you see I'm out, or like, what things did you kind of plan for to help each other?
Yeah, so have fun. So we had like 4 stickers on our boat, and one of the stickers we had is a happy boat is a fast boat, right? So we would have little goals. So every 500 miles, we'd have a can of Coke or whatever your soda was that you want. I love Dr. Pepper, so it was like Dr. Pepper. So like every 500 miles, you can go, oh my God, it's the best Dr. Pepper I've ever had. I earned that.
That's awesome.
And it's extra weight. So yeah, little things like songs, karaoke. Christmas Day, we all had little Christmas hats. We got each other Christmas gifts. So like, it was just really small little victories throughout the way made a big difference.
And it sounds also like just learning to communicate your needs and hearing somebody else's needs clearly without an ego being involved.
Yeah.
And which I think we should all bring into, as you were saying, Sam, bringing into all of our most important relationships.
Yeah, I've just gone through a big business change in my life, and I didn't apply the lessons just before the row. And if I could go back and do it again, knowing what I know about the road, this is the advice I give anyone. Stress test it. I mean, everything's great at the beginning, and then you layer on some children, or you layer on stress of jobs or ups and downs. It's the first like big hurdles. You're like, I hate this person. Like, they're awful. Like, because you never really thought about them in that light. Whereas when you're rowing, it's life or death. So you have to think about someone at their worst. Like, how's that person going to be? Hasn't slept for 5 days, going through a storm, hasn't eaten for 3, and we've been sharing a cupboard, a windowless, airless cupboard for a month. And he stinks, and we share a pillow and all of that stuff. And he has to like pop a blister on my bum. You know? That's real. That's going to happen.
That is a marriage.
So it's better to talk about it now than like when we get out there, hey man, I'm sorry, I got a blister on my bum. Do you mind popping it? And you're like, we didn't agree to that. And
in
so
sickness and in health.
And I think about those lines when you get married. My mum got married many times, and I think, did anyone read that line and like, did it register? Because it's not always smooth sailing. You got
Literally.
And I wanted to ask, for anyone who isn't lucky enough to know you, how do you describe the life you've built and the kinds of adventures like really get your juices, get you hot?
So I lost my father when I was young, and I lost my best friend when I was young too, and then my stepfather. And there's people who I really loved, so I was sort of aware about how short life can be. And when my best friend, just before he passed away, he said something to me. And he said, I will die with a smile on my face because I experience love, right? And so it always stuck with me that he felt what love felt like. That's all he thought about. He didn't think about the stuff he had. He was in his 20s, but he realized what love felt like. That was the thought. And I think losing my father as well, I've always thought about life as potentially very short and potentially long. And I always think about the adventures. I'll never be defined by my job or stuff. It'll always be experiences, because I think of these people, when I've sat with them in their last breaths, they think about the experiences and love. And it's got nothing to do with your career. So that's why I sort of am always searching for the next adventure.
So what was your first big adventure when, like, with all that stuff that happened as a kid, and what'd you do?
You know, honestly, I met Kate because I was so focused on work. I was a chef. I left home at 17 and got to work in a restaurant and ended up working for a very famous chef in the UK, and my sort of cooking career started. And I was just head down for about 10 years. And I managed to get to America working for Gordon Ramsay. And
I missed that in the thing.
And so I ended up working for Gordon in London, and I come here to New York. But it wasn't until I met my wife a few years later, and Kate like showed me, I went out to Colorado with her, and like just the outdoors and adventure. She took me on a bike ride, and I got into Lycra, which is a whole other thing.
Send pictures.
Yeah. And I just was like, wow, this is amazing. So it wasn't really until that. And then my first big one was biking across the US.
So we have Kate to thank.
Okay. How do you identify a goal? And how do you know when it's one worth pursuing?
The best advice I can give that I was given is visualize yourself having done that goal.
Oh.
Right? So actually Sam helped me with a TED Talk we did. And it was like, imagine the moment you get off the stage and then like work backwards. So like, how does that feel? Or for rowing, the best advice, take the moment that you've sold the boat and you've completed the row and you're back in the US, right? So I go, wow, that's 2 years away, but what is that going to feel like? And then you got to also work backwards. So you're imagining what it feels like to have completed that goal and you're so clear about it. So what does it feel like having a beer after a marathon, right? Mm-hmm. Think about that moment, like, oh God, I've got a lot to do, and then I'll work backwards. And then you sort of start filling in those things, but you're so clear that you're going to complete that goal and that task.
I love that.
So that would be my advice. And I call it planting a flagpole. So plant a flagpole at the finish of what you're trying to do.
We'll be right back with more from Ben Towill, but first, a quick word from the folks who keep all these jars of joy full.
Where does your search start?
Well, I'm going to tell you a story about a friend of mine who was like, yeah, I'm really thinking about doing this 100-mile race. I've never done a marathon, so I'm going to sign up for the marathon and I'm going to do the 100-mile race. And I said, listen, just sign up for the 100-mile race. When you're training for the 100-mile race, you'll do 20 marathons. Like, that's part of it. So don't worry about that. Just whatever you do, just say yes to this race because you've already started thinking about it. I'm a big believer in just like sign up for that thing.
Talk about the negative voices in your ear and how do you combat that? Because you had plenty.
I want to say that life is like that, right? It's this wave, and it's not like you're on to the next thing, It was an incredible low after the row. And you do these things, and then you're very reflective, and then you want to make some changes, but you have the reality of life. So it's not like this straight line. And then you have a quiet period. Like I think you told me about creativity. Like if you're a creative person, you're not like all the time coming up with incredible, you need space and quiet and you're not producing anything. And then suddenly like, I'm going to create a podcast.
Well, I love that you're allowing yourself the space to think about it. And like, that's something that I've noticed throughout this conversation, that you're like, give yourself so much permission to figure out what's best for you and what's best for your family.
I think it was, this is like, probably cut this out, but I think that it's the idea of seasons, and like we live in a world that's so connected that we forget like the rhythm of seasons and how an environment like ultimately shapes us. And we are like, no, it's always sunny, it's always this. And I really believe that we need to do that and allow ourselves to do that.
Mm.
You and Kate are really good about being intentional about like finding the joy in everyday life and bringing joy to people, whether it's dinner parties or in your restaurants and stuff like that. Tell me about how you do that together.
Well, I was so lucky. I had some people, when I was growing up, I just had some people who I used to go to their houses, and I'd be like, this is a great place, like so fun. This house is filled with just like laughter and interesting people and stories and great music. And these people did not have money, right? These were farmers and geographers, and they were surrounded by interesting people, and creativity and your story was your currency. That's your wealth. And we just try and fill our house with like laughter and joyful people and people who bring something that's fantastic and funny. And I want you want your kids to sit next to Sam and he'll be telling an amazing story. And Sam was telling him a story about coming out, and I were like bursting out of the closet. And to my 8-year-old, I'm like, what the visualization of what that looks like. Oscar's like, oh my God, Sam, it's like this thing that's going to explode. And then suddenly out comes Sam Griffin. And he'll see that image of like what that felt like for you. And I sort of fill your house with great people. With restaurants, it's all about, we used to say when we had a restaurant here in New York, it was in Orchard Street in the Lower East Side, and everyone's like, don't do it here, it'll never work. But it was this meeting place. Ideas were being exchanged. So create an environment where people can come and be themselves and express ideas and feel really comfortable, not like a place where it's transactional, which is so much our life feels like that. No agenda, be silly, wear a dress, listen to the music you want, tell the stories you should tell. And I think that's what I think is important.
Yeah.
I love that. And I want to hear about, like, you know, sometimes I have to tell myself, like, keep your eyes on your own paper.
Ooh,
Don't
yes.
pay attention to somebody that's moving in my career faster than me or doing things differently. What hot tips do you have for people that are on their journey and maybe feel like they're failing or they're not going fast enough?
I love this question. Good question.
Great question. So most things in my life today, I go back to the boat because there were so many life lessons, right? So I'm going to answer that question with Charlie and I. We are 500 miles from La Gomera. We're on our little rowing boat. You can see no one around you. You've been at sea for maybe 8 days. I feel very seasick, and we're in the lead. We did not think we were like two sort of doughy restaurateur chef people, and we're racing against like special forces, and somehow the doughy boys from Charleston are winning this thing. And so Charlie becomes obsessed with the radar, like looking at where the other boats are, and it becomes this obsession. It's like, we'll just never stop looking at where the other boats are too. And it detracts from his sleep. It's all we ever talk about. So I looked at Charlie and I said, mate, there is no point worrying about the other boats. Looking at that dot and seeing where the other boats are, it's not going to affect us at all. The only thing we can control is on our 24-foot by 4-foot rowing boat. So instead, turn the screen off. Because whatever they're doing is totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
We're just going to focus on our boat. And to make ourselves go quicker, if we want to be further on the thing, you have to do a little chore. So make breakfast for me and you before you go to sleep. Or clean the bucket and do whatever you can to make our boat faster. That's the only way our dot's going to get further on. And we never looked at the dots. And we just focused on our boat. Our boat was the tidiest, the happiest, and the fastest. But it was like caring things, like it was like clean the cabin. Like if you've got 2 minutes, clean the cabin so it's like nicer when you get in. Or, if you're going to boil hot water, boil 2 cups so I can have a hot cloth water. But do those tiny little things that over a period of time make your boat go faster.
Right. It's like taking that energy that you were using to focus on somebody else and directing it to you and your relationship and your own...
Your boat.
Your boat. Your boat.
Think about your boat. Focus on your own boat and make sure your boat is happy and healthy and fun.
And how did you keep your boat happy and healthy? How do you keep your relationship?
Joy.
So let's go back to you on the boat, or even your bike ride with Kate, or kitchen in New York City. When you find yourself losing the joy of the experience, right? Whether you're getting tired of doing it, or you're not doing as well as you want to, or like you said, you see somebody else doing it better, how do you find the joy again? Where do you go?
Well, first, a great question, but I think accepting that, of course, there's periods. We're not just joyful all the time. And if we didn't experience the lows, you can't experience the highs. And so I think a great adventurer who's currently walking across Antarctica, Colin O'Brady, has this sort of life rule about life at 1s and 10s. If you don't have 1s, you can't have 10s. And so many people live in the 4, 5s, and 6s, what he calls the gray zone, where it's like you're never going to feel 10, but you're also never going to feel 1. And so many people don't want to feel 1. And they'll never feel 10. And I heard that 4 years ago, and it was a life-changing talk that I went to because it's worth feeling ones to feel 10s. So I think if you are feeling a 1, you know there's a 10. So like if you are going through the storm and on a rowboat, or you are feeling sick for the first 5 days, seasick, and you can't hold food there and you're not sleeping, that's not going to last forever. And you just have to think, I'm just going to get through this moment, because there's going to be a moment where I'm surrounded by 300 dolphins and the sun's coming up and Charlie's playing Whitney Houston and I'm like,
Now I want to be on the boat.
and the closest thing to me is the International Space Station. Like, so that feels a lot better when you've gone through that one period. That's how I look at it.
I tell myself the same thing with parenting, like when you're up all night with a sick kid and then it's like, but then they're doing a funny dance for you the next morning and you're like, well, worth it. There's nothing more joyful than watching you dance in the living room for no reason.
I think that's such a great reference, and I think about that too. When parenting sucks, and it sometimes does, but there are also so many just amazing moments, and you're just like,
okay. You've called yourself doughy, unfit, 41, but if you guys are not watching this, Ben is hot and also very fit.
True. And he has an accent, so that's like double hot.
Yeah, I mean...
double doughy.
And double doughy.
I am so good for being faithful to my husband right now, is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm blushing.
But I want to talk about, you have a really strong relationship between fitness, adventure, and food.
I got sick when I was, let's go into that. I played a lot of sports when I was a kid, and at 16, I essentially burnt out. And I was sleeping for about 20 hours a day. And so from 16 to late 15 to nearly 17, I was bedridden. Oh, wow. And everyone just said I had a virus. My family thought I was being lazy. And I essentially had such an acidic body that my red blood cells were sticking together. And I had a buildup of lactic acid constantly in my body. And so I ate myself back to health. And I saw an American doctor in the UK called Dr. Laz Bannock, who changed my life. And I ate alkaline foods. I became macrobiotic. And within 6 months, had more energy than I ever had in my life. My friends would be like, I used to travel around to my friends with a juicer. And they'd be like, you're crazy. And I'd be like, that pizza will kill me, but I'm juice stuff. And I was like incredibly healthy. And I had all this energy, and that's when I got into cooking, and food changed my life. Fast forward, my stepfather, who basically kicked me out of the house for being lazy and didn't want me around, he got diagnosed with cancer. He rang me up and he said, I am so sorry what I did to you, and I saw what you did, and I want to try an alternative way of fighting this late-stage cancer because I don't want the radiation. And so he ate himself into remission. He became the leading practitioner in macrobiotics cooking and in the UK. And we became incredibly close. We became best friends. Wow. He actually came out here to New York to teach. And so I've had this very powerful journey with food. I've seen it time and time again, where people, they change their diet and they cure some pretty challenging diseases. And so I saw that. And so I've always had that food is incredibly powerful and can be life-changing. We often turn to it when we're sick rather than when we're well as preventative. So food, yes. And then with exercise and sport, when you have a goal, which is really important to set, because then I can't just go to the gym, look in the mirror and pump weights, because it's just not who I am. But if I'm like, oh, I've signed up for this thing and I need to get fit for it, I'll be motivated to do it. So that's how I work. I wish I was kind of more disciplined with that, but I ebb and flow, like many of us. As Kate says, I yo-yo.
A dodo.
I'm a doughy yo-yo.
All right, Ben, I want you to picture in your brain that it's a year from now, and you have had the happiest year of your life ever, of all the years.
I think it's going to happen.
I think it's going to happen for you too. So now that you're there, what did you do the same or differently to get you there?
Love this question. I talked about 1s and 10s. 2025 is a 1 for me, and I can acknowledge that. 2026 will be a 10. what am I going to do differently to get there? Letting go of a lot. I see a lot of change coming up in my life. So planting a flagpole that I'm currently doing, that we're doing as a family, and having the confidence to execute that and get to where you want to be. So we will be moving cities this year, and I'm having lots of my career changes, and there's lots happening in our family. And I think that we've been spending this year looking for our flagpole, and that's what I wanted to say about coming on this podcast. I think so often you come on it with like, oh my God, I row the Atlantic, I do all this stuff, but like it's sort of messy and it's not straightforward. And I think 25 has been a real like one for us. And it's okay with that but I felt what 10 feels like. So I'm like, no, we need to get back to those things. So your health, number one, like be active and healthy and be joyful and find joy. And if you don't have that in your life, like get whatever's bringing you down, get it out. And that can be people or habits, in relationship with stuff. So if you know that, you got to get that out. So if I'm just talking about myself, it's changing some habits, which I'm very aware of. It's continuing to seek joy and making sure everyone in your life is really contributing to that joyful feeling. And I think when you're getting older, that becomes easier.
Yeah.
And the reason this year was bad because I was shedding the weight. And back to my boat metaphor, it's like be lighter, be faster, and be more joyful. So I hope if I came back and sat here this time next year, I would have executed all those things.
That means so much to me. I think 2025 was a bit of a one for me also. And I love hearing you talk about what's coming in future years. And it's exciting to remember that, like, yeah, there's always the darkness before the storm.
That storm. I hope I'm sitting here. I'll probably be bringing you guys tea when you're huge famous.
I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on, and you're one of my closest friends. But every time we talk, I feel like I learn something new, and I am so inspired by everything you've done and everything you're going to do, big and small. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to tell a bit of my rowing story, and I'm just so honored to be here.
I needed this conversation today, so thank you so much. And I feel like we're not alone, that we want more of you in our lives. So where can we find you?
So on Instagram, Basic Projects is Kate and I's company, where we kind of everything that we do, both adventure and community and in our sort of design hospitality world. So Basic Projects on Instagram.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Before we go, we want to end by spreading the joy. We ask our guests to give a quick toast to someone, living or dead, who made their life brighter, lighter, and more joyful.
I'd like to give a celebration of life shout out to my beautiful wife, Kate. Kate is the music to my life. She lights up every room she goes into. I'm so lucky to walk through life with her, to raise a family with her, and so grateful that she's so supportive of crazy endeavors like rowing oceans. And I am just so grateful to have her in my life.
Thank you so much for listening to Brain Glitter. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please hit that little share button and pass it along.
To learn more about our guests, you can sign up for our newsletter at brainglitter.com and follow us on all the socials at BrainGlitterPod. Brain Glitter is a production of Who Says Studios and Skeebop & Sons, created and hosted by Sam Griffin and Bethany Hall.
We are so grateful for our little glitter factory, including Keith Haskel, Jordana Jason, Clare Kenny, Jenn Cambras, Paul Vitolins, Emily Fuller, and the brilliant team at Manhattan Neighborhood Networks. Our theme music was created by Cameron Myers.
And special thanks to our husbands, parents, families, and friends, the unofficial and unpaid co-authors of everything we bring to the mic. We can't wait to welcome you back the next time you hit play. And remember, Let curiosity pull you forward and joy find you wherever you are.
I mean, this episode is over.
This is over. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Can't wait.